We are anonymous. We are legion. We do not forgive. We do not forget. Expect us.
After becoming the first country in the world to approve a vaccine, the British government began its ambitious programme in early December, with the aim to offer a shot to everyone in its top 4 priority groups, including all care home residents and frontline healthcare workers.
Today, we have reached a significant milestone in the United Kingdom's national vaccination programme.
It does mean we're going to be a little bit longer, sadly, in terms of getting back to normal, but time will tell over the coming weeks, really, how effective these vaccines are over the current variants that are in circulation.
I'm supposed to be on a gap year now, so a year ago, I would not have thought I would be here. Seeing what I'm seeing, doing what I'm doing is going to stay with me for a long time. I'm going to think about it for the rest of my life.
And I pray, and I pray especially for the NHS. I think they need strength at this time.
I think they are doing marvellous, and I think they're so brave.
That's when you think, this is something else. This is something that you're going to remember in your profession for the rest of your life.
We've just lost one of our nurses that work in the hospital.
I don't want to sound really selfish, but sometimes I just think, I don't want to do this anymore.
Because we in the name of Jesus. Oh, thank you, Jesus. Standing in the office of the prophet of God, I execute judgment on you, COVID-19. I execute judgment on you, Satan, you destroyer, you killer, you get out, you bring good power, you get off this nation. I demand judgment on you. I demand a vaccination to come immediately. Yes.
Why are you here? You come all the way from York to see me. Went here for lockdown, mate.
Another 1,300 people have died today. You need to get yourself straight home. Right? It's not up for you to argue about.
You must stay at home.
Thank you very much, Auntie.
For the last 10 months, police officers, staff and volunteers across the UK have been out policing their communities.
Going all the way to drop them a tenner. That's breaching COVID then, isn't it? So you've been stopped breaching COVID, yet you're continuing to breach COVID. So your fines double every time, are you aware?
They've been doing their normal role of keeping people safe and fighting crime, but they've also been playing their part in defeating coronavirus by ensuring compliance with the various restrictions that we've all been living with. From the outset, we did this in the way that we always police, working with the public and using common sense and discretion. In most of our daily encounters, it's been enough to engage with people, to explain the rules and to encourage compliance. The majority of the public have worked with us, and I thank them for that. But a stubborn number of people have refused to abide by the regulations, and we have had to use enforcement powers.
To us it looks like you are gathering. Well, it does. You don't know what it looks like to me, do you? To me it looks like you're gathering.
Up to this point, as the Home Secretary has said, across the whole of the United Kingdom, we've issued almost 45,000 fixed penalty notices, and for that I make no apology. It's very clear that we're now at the most dangerous stage of the pandemic. There is a real and present risk that our health service could be overwhelmed and people, our friends and family, could die needlessly from this virus. So we must all play our part in stopping that from happening. 10 months on, the rules are clear and I urge everyone to abide by them. With a virus spreading so rapidly through contact with others, we should all be asking ourselves whether our reason to leave home is truly essential. Those personal decisions are critical. Since October, we've been guiding our officers to move more quickly to issuing a fine where people are clearly breaching regulations and they're not listening to us. And in most cases, the person will comply after one request. But there are still too many who are choosing not to, and in doing so, they're endangering us all. And so it's important for me to be really clear. At this critical time, we will have more officers out on dedicated patrols to take action against the small few who are letting us all down.
I've got mental health on my board, and this is suicidal.
Listen, mate, I'm directing you now to go straight home.
The police service across the UK is doing all it can to support the many, many people who are making daily sacrifices to protect the health of their family, friends and communities. And as more people act sensibly and stay at home, we will still be visible on your streets and continuing the work that we've been doing throughout the pandemic to keep you safe. Our successful staged enforcement approach remains, but we will not linger on encouragement for those who are choosing to break the rules. The rules are clear and we need to abide by them if we are going to protect the NHS and save people's lives.
This is a police message. Please stay indoors. Remember, you can only go out to go to work and come home, to go to the shop, to collect medication, and for one exercise today.
Greetings, citizens of the world. This is an anonymous news reports. As quarantines were imposed in China, with cities of millions on lockdown, Westerners condemned the heavy-handed tactics of the Chinese government and assured themselves that nothing like that could ever happen in their home country. In just a few short months, the situation has changed rapidly and drastically, with researchers and epidemiologists around the world warning that we could be in for the most destructive pandemic since the influenza outbreak of 1918.
Those people worked throughout the entire flu epidemic.
Italy has taken this advice and has placed the entire country of 60 million people on quarantine. People have been ordered to stay indoors throughout the entire country, and large gatherings of any kind have been banned. Even smaller gatherings like funerals have also been banned. At least 50 people in Sicily are facing serious criminal charges after breaking the quarantine order for having a funeral with a loved one. There is also concern that people inside the Italian quarantine zone are being left to fend for themselves. Luca Franzesi, the brother of a 47-year-old woman who died at home, is now trapped in the house with her, and has waited for over a day for authorities to come and help him. He posted a terrifying video to social media pleading with authorities to come and help him.
Questo video è molto forte, vi prego di non farlo vedere ai bambini e agli anziani. Io sono costretto con tutto il dolore a combattere questa situazione. Io ho mia sorella nel letto, morta. Non so cosa devo fare. Non posso darle l'onoranza che merita, perché le istituzioni mi hanno abbandonato.
As more people are getting tested in Europe and the United States, it is becoming apparent that this virus gained a foothold on every continent, aside from Antarctica, of course, and so other Western countries are now starting to think about how they can quarantine their own populations. In the US, where citizens insisted that something like this could never happen on American soil, the National Guard was called to a region of New York that has become a new epicenter for the virus on the East Coast.
He did, Chris. He's calling in the National Guard to help set up what's called a containment area around a hotspot, a cluster.
We spent all this time closed down, locked down, masked, socially distanced, and then you turn on the TV and you see these mass gatherings that could potentially be infecting hundreds and hundreds of people after everything that we have done.
New York Governor Andrew Cuomo insists that the National Guard is only there to help deliver supplies and clean up, but the presence of military troops certainly has many local residents on edge. It was also reported that Cuomo was using prison labor to make large volumes of hand sanitizer to make up for the recent shortage, so it is understandable if some citizens suspect veiled threats behind his flowery promises.
Told you. Thank you very much, Doctor.
It was also announced that Georgia, in the southern United States, will be turning a portion of a state park into a quarantine zone for coronavirus patients. Shortly after the virus arrived in Georgia, the state's governor, Brian Kemp, announced that state officials were preparing Hard Labor Creek State Park in Morgan County for isolating and monitoring patients who may have been exposed to the disease caused by the coronavirus. This was intended to assure residents that something was being done to prepare, but this was not welcome news to some citizens, because getting quarantined in an isolated section of a place called Hard Labor Creek sounds like a straight-up horror movie. However, there are different approaches that can be taken, but people need to actually take this virus seriously and practice extreme social distancing to slow the spread of the illness.
The mayor of Savannah, Van Johnson, a Democrat who issued a mask mandate in his city on July 1st, said on Twitter, quote, "It is officially official. Governor Kemp does not give a damn about us."
All right, okay. All right. What brings you to Weston?
We need to stay home as much as possible and avoid public spaces as much as possible until this blows over, and cancel large events voluntarily, of our own free will. These actions will help us to prevent the spread of the virus, and it will leave authorities with no excuses to crack down on the population in the name of public safety. Will others follow their lessons? It doesn't look they will.
Police officers, obviously during the pandemic, trying to save people's lives.
Fucking Nazis walking in the park! I'm a free man!
We are anonymous. We are legion. We do not forgive. We do not forget. Expect us.
This is serious. We need to beat Corona, and we can only do that if we work together. This is a police message. Please stay indoors.
If it is essential to go out, remember, wash your hands, cover your face indoors, and keep your distance from others. Vaccines give clear hope for the future, but for now, we must all stay home, protect the NHS, save lives.
Hello, sir. How are we doing? You alright? Thank you. I'm level with you, sir. You're not doing appointments for people still during lockdown, are you? Right.
Inside, how many people have you got inside?
Like 6. Oh.
Like 6?
Yeah.
How many of you guys live here? We don't live here. We live here. And it's likely that you will see a fine in the post. Okay? The fine is for £300 and we're in lockdown currently. You're not exempt from meeting in the sort of setting with other people. For that reason, you're being reported for contravening those regulations.
It is critically important that we protect lives and protect the NHS. That means that we need to reduce the spread of infection, and that means that people should stay at home.
We're not meant to be operating, are we? Sorry, I didn't do it like this. Why would you be able to do it like this?
It's like I'm home.
It's nearly been a year now. Alright, it doesn't work like that, unfortunately. Even if you're a home-owned business or not. Everyone knows the regulations by now, it's 10 minutes every day. And it's going on nearly a year. It's £200 fine for the ladies customers, and it's £1,000 for the business.
Police have warned about the dangers beyond coronavirus of illegal raves. Greater Manchester Police released this video from an event in June, where 3 men were stabbed and a woman reported being raped. At another, a 20-year-old died from a suspected overdose. The Metropolitan Police came under attack themselves when they tried to break up a street party.
I've come down here tonight to celebrate, to party, to have a good time, listen to some good music, and yeah, just vibe. That we're in. These past few months have been very difficult for everyone, but I feel that I've been to protests over the past few months. I've been to the BLM protests. I'm fine. I'll continue raving and I'll feel like I'll be fine.
Young people just don't care, innit? When like late teens, early 20s.
What do you think it's been like for young people during the pandemic?
Quite a testing time, I really think, especially for those that rely on friendship to keep them stable and that. Especially during lockdown, which kept a lot of people apart. A lot of dark thoughts could have infiltrated their heads and that. I know, pretty dark times. So I'll ask the question again. Are people coming to your house to get their hair cut?
don't know if it's illegal or not legal. I don't know.
So they are then? So they are? So you're doing appointments from home? Right, that's answered my question.
Yeah, but I don't know. Really,
Yes, it's illegal, yes.
The customs are asking.
Okay. That's illegal? It's illegal?
Yeah? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, where have you come from? Sorry? You come from West Bridgeford to watch planes during lockdown. What are the rules at the minute? Yeah. You got your IDs on you, please?
We've seen big crowds of people in the first few days of the lockdown, and then in some isolated beauty spots, say on Exmoor, we've seen some crowds around car parks, queues to get in and out of car parks. That means more people on the roads, potentially breaking down, stopping in garages. We're just trying to use common sense to interpret these guidelines, and actually the big story is 1.7 million people in Avon Somerset. The huge majority absolutely understand this and are doing their very best to support the NHS and save lives.
Please pay attention to the guidelines. They've been out there for a long time. The police, trust me, I don't like being this bloke that sums and dishes tickets out to people that have never been in trouble with the police before. It gives me no joy whatsoever, but people have got to stay safe.
State television has broadcast footage of Lang meeting with the acting president, Mint Sway, who read out a statement declaring a one-year state of emergency. Myanmar's military has seized power in a coup against the democratically elected government of Aung San Suu Kyi. Suu Kyi and politicians from her political party, the National League for Democracy, or NLD, were detained in early morning raids on Monday.
We removed sanctions, the United States, I should say, removed sanctions on Burma over the past decade based on progress toward democracy. The reversal of that progress will necessitate an immediate review of our sanctions laws and authorities, followed by appropriate action.
Opposition to the takeover went viral on Facebook, with activists and others sharing images of hospital staff protesting. The US and the UN have condemned the use of force against protesters. Thousands of people joined demonstrations in the main city of Yangon, and in the capital, Naypyidaw, hundreds of government workers marched in support of a growing civil disobedience campaign. A group of police in Kaya State in the east also joined the protesters and marched in uniform, with a sign that said, "We don't want dictatorship," according to pictures published in media.
Where in Bangkok, protesters stomped on a photo of Myanmar's army chief outside the Myanmar embassy.
Suu Kyi's party won 83% of the vote in only the second election since a military junta agreed to share power in 2011. The coup derails years of Western-backed efforts to establish democracy in Myanmar.
Security forces used rubber bullets, catapults and armoured vehicles to control crowds of protesters in Myanmar on Monday, demanding the release of ousted civilian leader Aung San Suu Kyi and an end to military rule.
The military have issued a state of emergency to last for 1 year. Despite a ban on gatherings of more than 4 people in the country's biggest cities, protesters have continued to demand the release of National League for Democracy's Aung San Suu Kyi and other detainees.
Violence has been limited during the demonstrations, although police have opened fire on several occasions to disperse crowds.
From thousands marching in Yangon and convoys of motorbikes in the capital Naypyidaw, to drumming in the coastal southeastern town of Dawei and flag-waving and revolutionary songs in Waimor in the mountainous far northern Kachin. One common thread across those protests, the face of Aung San Suu Kyi.
One woman was expected to die after being shot in the head with a bullet. Yangon local Tet Shak Ho called for justice for those injured yesterday.
The international community rejects what has happened, that leaders of the world are united in their revulsion of this illegal act, and that the international community is committed to working together to see that this does not stand. The people of Myanmar need to know, first and foremost, that the world is watching and that the world is with them.
Alongside the protest, the growing civil disobedience movement affecting hospitals, schools and government offices shows no sign of ending.
Nearly a year after this pandemic began, this unparalleled national effort has decisively shifted the odds in our favour, so that we no longer have to rely simply on lockdowns and restricting our behaviour and putting our lives on hold. But with every day that goes by, this programme of vaccination is creating a shield around the entire population, which means that we're now travelling on a one-way road to freedom. And therefore, as we look at the data today, I can confirm that 2 weeks from today, Monday the 8th of March, we will begin step one. And schools and colleges across England will reopen and teaching in classrooms can start again. And on the 29th of March, you can meet more of your friends and family outside, including in gardens, either as two households or subject to the rule of 6. And then we'll go on to step 2, which is no earlier than the 12th of April. And this is a big moment because shops will return and reopen, hairdressers, nail salons will reopen, pubs and restaurants will all be able to serve customers outside, precisely because we know that outside the risk of transmission is lower. And then 5 weeks after that, no earlier than May the 17th, we'll go to step 3 and open all our hospitality sector to service indoors, pubs, bars, restaurants, along with hotels and cinemas. And subject to capacity limits, we will also open sports stadia, concert halls and theatres. Provided we continue to pass the 4 tests, then from the 21st of June, we will go to step 4 and say goodbye to most remaining restrictions.
People are not listening to his advice. They want clear direction, these people, because they're too stupid to make that decision themselves.
And as we've seen, the number of people not following the advice is incredibly damaging to the effort to stop the spread of the virus.
Why didn't we get, when WHO said test, why didn't we get testing up and running so that we could comprehensively test out in the community like they're doing in Germany?
But I don't believe that this is going to mean a fundamental change to the way our life in our big cities really works. And I think that London our great cities will be full of buzz and life and excitement again, provided people have confidence about coming back into those city centres. I think that our great cities will bounce back along with the rest of the economy once we've got this roadmap delivered. Anyway, that's all we've got time for.
Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves. You and I are told increasingly we have to choose between a left or right. Well, I'd like to suggest there is no such thing as a left or right. There's only an up or down. Man's old age dream, the ultimate in individual freedom consistent with law and order, or down to the ant-heap of totalitarianism. And regardless of their sincerity, their humanitarian motives, those who would trade our freedom for security have embarked on this downward course.
Well, I don't know what will happen now. We've got some difficult days ahead. But it really doesn't matter with me now, because I've been to the mountaintop.
The crowd shouted death to the Shah.
Millions of French students and workers took to the streets calling for a revolution. The spring of 1968 paralysed the French government.
Fundamentalism took hold with the fury and the force that helped ignite the still impoverished masses in Iran. There were celebrations in the streets of Tehran.
And if we cannot end now our differences, at least we can help make the world safe for diversity. For in the final analysis, our most basic common link is that we all inhabit this small planet. We all breathe the same air. We all cherish our children's futures. And we are all mortal.
The entire planet seems to be creeping towards revolution, especially in the past year. We now live in a global world, where the economy and political system of one country is closely connected with those around it, and when there is unrest in one area, you can expect neighboring regions to follow suit. This is because even though these different countries and regimes seem to operate differently, they all represent the same type of authoritarianism, just with varying degrees of intensity and extremity. Even in Western democracies that pride themselves on being the safest and most comfortable places to live, there are millions of people living in poverty, who are just one provocation away from gathering in the streets. In the past few decades, the human species has seen incredible technological progress, which has connected the world in profound ways, but there are still many people out there who are struggling. Many people will argue that the position of the poor is considerably better than it was even 100 years ago, and that the position of all people has been raised through technological progress. The old boss is the same as the new boss, as the old saying goes. This is why people must think ahead when they are in these struggles for freedom, because those who seek to control the world are thinking many steps ahead as well. Revolution typically occurs when people are angry, starving and desperate, but unfortunately, it is often difficult to make good decisions in that mind state. This always seems to be the failure of revolution. No one is actually thinking of what to do once the revolution has won, and it always seems that the people with the worst intentions seem to be the only ones with a plan. Deep down, everyone knows that the plan should be a society based on peace, freedom, and abundance, but the governments to rise from revolutions are rarely ever based on those values, and if they are, it is only in rhetoric, as we see in places like the United States. As the global revolution around us takes form, we need to be looking for alternatives and solutions, so we don't allow new power seekers to create new systems of control. How do we do this? That is up to all of us to figure out together, including you.
Soldiers, don't give yourselves to brutes. Men who despise you, enslave you, who regiment your lives, tell you what to do, what to think, and what to feel, who drill you, diet you, treat you like cattle, use you as cannon fodder. Don't give yourselves to these unnatural men, machine men, with machine minds and machine hearts. You are not machines, you are not cattle, you are men. You have the love of humanity in your hearts. You don't hate, only the unloved hate, the unloved and the unnatural. Soldiers, don't fight for slavery, fight for liberty. In the 17th chapter of St. Luke it is written, the kingdom of God is within man, not one man nor a group of men, but in all men, in you. You, the people, have the power to create machines, the power to create happiness. You, the people, have the power to make this life free and beautiful, to make this life a wonderful adventure. Then in the name of democracy, let us use that power. Let us all unite. Let us fight for a new world, a decent world, that will give men a chance to work, that will give youth a future and old age a security. By the promise of these things, brutes have risen to power, but they lie. They do not fulfill that promise. They never will. Dictators free themselves, but they enslave the people. Now let us fight to fulfill that promise. Let us fight to free the world, to do away with national barriers, to do away with greed, with hate and intolerance. Let us fight for a world of reason, a world where science and progress will lead to all men's happiness. Soldiers, in the name of democracy, let us all unite!